Sup nerds, I'm CuppaJoey and welcome back to another episode of Hobby Drama, although specifically for this episode, K-pop drama. I know that a lot of you are going to be hella surprised to find out that drama happens in the K-pop fandom, but there is quite a fair bit of it, so I do hope to cover this a lot more. So, you know the drill, sit back, put your feet up, get a nice little cup of something, and we're going to have a look at how an idol daring to be a human being tore apart a fandom. For this episode, I would like to give a special thanks to the user Dick Channel on Reddit. Not a sentence I thought I would be reading out, but they are the one that did the entire write-up for this episode, apart from my commentary. So a huge thank you to them for taking the time and effort to write this up. Kim Jong Daddy. How a marriage teared a fandom apart. OP says here, feel free to correct me if I made a mistake or if there is any information I left out or that is wrong. I'm going to extend that request to this channel. So if there's anything that needs correcting, feel free to pop a comment down below and then I can pin that and also let OP know about this correction. There's a TLDR here, but I'm not going to read it out because, ooh, spoilers. Have you ever stepped into the abyss that is Stan Twitter? You know, where you see a ton of Twitter users talking about sexy Jungkook this and big dick energy Mingy that and please step on me Yves this? Spamming their fancam under every single popular tweet that they can find so they can promote their faves? I'm sure after laying your eyes upon all of these things, the only thing you can think to yourself is, God, can K-pop fans get any worse? The answer to that is yes, they can get worse, extremely worse. Let me tell you the story of Kim Jong-dae, also known as Chen, versus Korean exo-ls, a story of hate, chaos, and a whole lot of unnecessary drama.
Fight!
Background. EXO is a South Korean Chinese boy band managed under SM Entertainment, one of the biggest entertainment companies in South Korea. They debuted in 2012 on the 8th of April with their first single, Mama, and subsequently their first EP by the same name on the 9th of April. Since their debut, the group has steadily worked their way up to one of the biggest and at one point in time, the biggest and most successful groups in the industry following their first million-seller album, XOXO. They have since pushed out 6 studio albums, all except one being million sellers, debuted 2 different subunits and earned tons, and I mean tons, of awards. Including the beloved Daesang, the biggest award in K-pop given based on album sales and online voting. And behind them are the exo-ls, the name given to fans of the band. That brings me to Kim Jong-dae, who will be referred to by his stage name Chen from this point on, EXO's last member to join the band. Chen initially debuted as part of the subgroup exo-m, promoting the band's Mandarin songs up until the band began promoting exclusively as one group in both Korean and Mandarin. Chen is widely known by many K-pop fans as having one of the best voices in the industry, which is characterized by his wide range and even his capacity to sing in female key. Along with promoting with the rest of the group, Chen also promotes as part of the group's subunit EXO-CBX, as well as releasing his own solo work through both mini-albums and song covers on his YouTube page. Though he is one of the group's less popular members, Chen has a strong following behind him known as Sung Diggies, a name that he himself gave his fans, at least until the 13th of January 2020. After the release of EXO's 6th studio album Obsession and the end of its promotions following the group's performance on the music show in Kageo on the 8th of December 2019, things were quiet, as it usually is after a group has a comeback. And while members still posted on their social media and interacted with fans through the company's LYSN app, there wasn't much in terms of promotions for the group. New Year's Day had passed, and the silence persisted until, out of the blue, Chen comes onto LYSN and posts only a handwritten letter which you can read here. In this letter, Chen gives fans some very sudden news. Not only does he have a girlfriend that he's kept secret about, but he's also getting married to her. In fact, not only is he getting married to her, but they'll also be having a baby on the way, which, by the way, was born on the 29th of April, 2020 this year, actually. So OP originally just linked to the letter. I'm going to read it out for you now. A translated version, of course. Hello, this is Chen. I'm writing this letter because I have something to tell you. I'm so nervous and I don't know how to start it. I want to be honest with my fans who always give a huge amount of love to me, but I think these sentences are lacking. I have a girlfriend with whom I want to live forever. I was worried about what would happen after this decision. The members I've been with, the company, especially the fans who are proud of me, I'd like to give you a little early so you won't be surprised by the sudden news. I was communicating with the company and discussing it with the members. While doing so, a blessing came to us. I've been unable to consult with the company and the members and do what I planned. I was very embarrassed too. I am encouraged by this blessing. I couldn't wait any longer to figure out when and how to tell you. I took courage carefully. I really appreciate the members who congratulated me with all their heart upon hearing the news. I will be forever grateful for your love, and I will do my best, in my place, as usual, to reciprocate your love. I always thank you. Now that was the translation that was written on K-Star Live, which is where the letter was published, which I will also be posting a link down to below in the description. However, if that translation sounded a little bit clumsy, don't blame me for it. So, at this point, what do you guys think happens with the group's fans? Do you think that they respond rationally and congratulate him with all the goodness in their heart? Or do you think that they'll overreact and do whatever dramatic thing to throw hate at him and try and get him kicked out of the group? Surprise, surprise, fans react terribly. Following Chen's posting of his letters, there was immediate backlash against him for his decision to marry and his premarital pregnancy. Comments on Korean news sites came at him for his premarital pregnancy, with some saying to never spend your life on a celebrity. Fan sites, pages often dedicated to a specific idol, taking pictures of them at events, setting up birthday events, etc., closed down as soon as they hear this news for some of the most dramatic reasons. Most of which are the same: he's putting someone else before us, his fans! And he's flocked to his music pages on Korean music streaming sites to comment hate about him, his wife, and his marriage. Former exo-l's trend hashtags calling for him to withdraw from the group in fear of hurting its image, and so much more. And this is only the immediate response after he released the letter. In other words, the calm before the storm. A rocky 8 months. Since that day, Chen has become quiet with few but slowly increasing updates. But while he has stayed quiet for most of this time, his haters and so-called exo-ls sure haven't. If you think that you've just heard what was some of the pettiest and most dramatic reactions over an idol getting married, here's a list of things that has happened in the past 8 months since the announcement of his marriage. Number 1. On the 19th of January, a protest was held outside of SM Town COEX Atrium, a space dedicated to the company's artists with a museum, cafe, theatre and store inside. exo-ls gathered to protest Chen's marriage and to call on the company to withdraw him from EXO. There were supposedly 200 to 300 exo-ls that were going to attend, but only 20 to 30 of them actually attended. Edit, this source reports as little as 7 protesters attended. Dressed in all black with hoodies, jackets and all, the protesters sat in front of the building covering their face with a banner that read #ChenOut. In addition to this, they brought much of their Chen merchandise, threw them into a pile and proceeded to destroy it all, and then they did not much else. For most people, this protest was considered a failure, and it was even reported that the news didn't even bother to cover the protest because it wasn't newsworthy. Number 2. On the 28th of January, one of the most prominent, maybe, Chen anti-groups, exo-l Ace Cafe, sets up a truck billboard parked outside of SM Town COEX Atrium, calling for the withdrawal of Chen from EXO, complete with an unverified statistic that 96% of Chinese exo-l wanted Chen gone. The truck was subsequently reported by fans for being parked illegally, and at some point in the day the truck billboard plan was abandoned completely. Number 3. On the 19th of February, Chen gives fans an apology that you can read here. In this letter, he apologizes for being too sudden with the news and for causing disappointment and hurt. The fans don't accept this apology and continue to call for his withdrawal. Once again, I am going to read out the letter that Chen wrote to the fans. Hello, this is Chen. After worrying a lot about how I should express my feelings, it's taken me until now to write to exo-l. I'm worried that I might hurt you through poor wording, but I want to first off apologize to everyone who has waited for all that time. I also want to express my apologies to exo-l, who must have been very surprised and taken aback by my sudden news. When I first wrote that letter, it was my first time to experience such a thing, so I worried a lot about what I should say to exo-l, who have been together with me. Still, I wrote a letter because I thought that I needed to personally tell all of you first. However, my unintentionally lacking and poor wording caused disappointment and hurt. And seeing you experience that made my heart ache as well. I don't know if my feelings will be conveyed well, but I'm sincerely grateful for the love that you've given me, and I'm more aware than anyone else that I am who I am now because of all that love. I want to apologize again for expressing my apologies to you so late. Also, I'll show you how I'm continuing to try hard. Thank you. The day after, on the 20th of February, SM Entertainment releases an official statement stating that there will be no changes to the member lineup. In other words, Chen stays. Number 4. On the 21st of April, exo-l Ace Cafe makes a donation to an organisation called Youth Sex Center. An organisation meant to educate the youth on safe sex and to prevent unwanted pregnancy. The anti-group made this donation under Chen's name in a way to sort of shade him for getting his girlfriend pregnant before marriage, stating that idols have a public image that influences the fans the most. Thus, we want to educate them, the youth, more about premarital pregnancy. Although the organisation initially accepted the donation, they ultimately refunded the donation as it did not match with their mission. Number 5. In May, we get our first updates from Chen, a picture of him promoting Grip-Tox being sold for SM's Smile For You charity program. And a picture of him with the rest of EXO sending off the group's leader to military. In June, we also get Chen's first public appearance, attending his bandmate's performance on a music show. Number 6. On the 27th of July, exo-l Ace Cafe, yes, they've been doing this sort of thing a lot, gets an ad in one of Korea's biggest newspapers published. As you might have guessed, they call for the same thing, withdraw Chen, promote him as a soloist, blah blah blah. Here's the problem. They got this published in the sports section where the general public would be least likely to look. Meanwhile, exo-ls who support Chen win as the same publisher publishes an online article of EXO fans fighting back against hate. Number 7. In August, Chen makes another appearance on LYSN, wishing exo-ls a happy birthday, fanbase establishment anniversary. The fans don't accept his birthday wishes and continue to call for his withdrawal. Number 8. On the 8th of September, Chen releases new music, not including his song covers on his YouTube channel, with his OST for the Korean drama Do You Like Brahms? exo-ls proceed to flock to his music streaming pages to bring down the star rating of his song to as low as 1.5 stars and comment hate, including calling him names like Kim Jong Daddy. Edit. Sehun and Chan-yeol, both bandmates of Chen, promoted his OST on their Instagram story shortly after it was released in South Korea. exo-ls found this and subsequently began to say their goodbyes to the exo-l community, posting some of the most dramatic posts in the LYSN app. A good number of them took to Twitter and Korean second-hand online stores to sell their merch off these members. Those who stuck around began claiming that EXO was now 5 members, seeing as Sehun and Chan-yeol betrayed them by promoting Chen's OST. The present. So what's changed over the past 8 months? Sadly, nothing. 8 months later, exo-ls are still completely divided between whether they support Chen and whether they want him gone. Chen, despite a few updates, has been reluctant to open up or update exo-ls frequently, with good reason. And perhaps worst of all, his company, SM Entertainment, refuses to do anything to protect their artist from the hate being thrown at him. Will this story have a good end? Let's hope it does, but as it stands, the most we can do is continue to stand by his side and support him for the years to come. Edit, to clarify, the hate is not nearly as widespread as most may assume it is. The entirety of South Korea does not hate Chen, rather it's mostly exo-ls. And even then, there's a substantial amount of people who continue to support him. The general public, for the most part, doesn't have much of an opinion on Chen's marriage. Side note, but on the 21st of September, midnight Korean time, it will be, or rather was, as this is recorded in future times, it was Chen's 28th birthday. Even if you're not a K-pop fan, please consider checking out some of his music videos like Shall We or Beautiful Goodbye and leaving a like or a nice comment as well as streaming his solo albums. Okay folks, time for me to sit on my Jerry Springer chair and give you my final thought. This one, I find, is going to be a little bit difficult and a little bit delicate for me to give commentary on because I do realise that a lot of the problematic, fan behaviour comes from, Korean women, and I'm a freaking British white guy, commenting on their behaviour. So I am at times going to step back and say I may not understand this from a cultural perspective, but I do want people to, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about anything, or if any of my observations were seen as inappropriate at all, then please let me know, because, we can all self-improve. But moving on to the actual drama, so there's so much of this that I'm just absolutely mind-boggled by. There's so much that I can't really get my head around. So all of this seems to come from the idea that Chen is married, right? That he's got a partner, that he's getting married, that he's having a kid and all of that. Which sounds to me, especially when they use the word idol, that they're no longer really seeing these singers as human, but more like products for consumption. How dare you have a girlfriend? How dare you find love? How dare you have human emotion? That's what a lot of it sounds like. And at least from my perspective, it certainly sounds like the reason that there's so much upset behind this is that they're upset that Chen is no longer romantically and sexually available to them. And the thing is that, okay, I'm just gonna pop up the little picture of the exo-l fans, clearly at a concert here that I used before. Okay, so looking at this picture, I would say that these are definitely women. I mean, I'm sure that a certain amount are, teenage girls and potentially minors. However, from the outset, I would say that these look like adults, so I'm gonna treat it as such. Also, I'm pretty sure that you need to be an adult to be able to hire a freaking billboard and, park it illegally outside somewhere, so that's sort of my viewpoint moving forwards. Now, when they talk about the problems with having a child out of wedlock and unwanted pregnancy, that's the thing, is that they say unwanted pregnancies. Was it really unwanted? Because from what I've seen, Chen is very happy with his new kid, and he's enjoying fatherhood, so what's the problem? I don't think the fact that he was going to get married and have a kid is exactly what was so upsetting to, the fans. I don't think at all that it is the fact that he is now doing these things that they deem unacceptable. I really do 100% think that it is just, I'm really upset that all of my fantasies about going to this concert and suddenly being seen by Chen in the audience, and then he asks me to come backstage and we fall in love, and then he loves me and he kisses my face and I get lipstick around his eyes, and then that it's meant to be, it's that, it's the destruction of that fantasy that they're angry about. And to go to this level over that, is terrible. And when you say that it is, when you say, I don't know what I'm on about, but when people say that it is the music that matters here, right? Chen has got a very good vocal range. I listened to some of the songs while I was creating this video, just because I like to know what I'm talking about, at least a little bit. And yeah, he has definitely got a very good vocal range. He's definitely a way better singer than I could be, for example. Not that I'm trying to be. And so surely his marriage, his personal life, his girlfriend, his child, that wouldn't matter. None of that would freaking matter. Brian Mulco, the lead singer of Placebo, is a single father, and he is one of the best singers in one of the best bands, in my opinion. I definitely think that the levels that they went to try and get rid of Chen is absolutely pathetic. Now, when it comes to the Chinese side of things, in terms of exo-m, as that's where Chen originally started, when it comes to Chinese pop bands, and I do have a very small amount of background knowledge in this, given that if you just got here, I lived in China for a year and I did my thesis there. So, I'm a little bit, uncomfortable with China, uncomfortable with my Chinese knowledge. And generally over there, when there is a pop band that is Chinese, because they noticed that Korean pop was starting to get very popular. And so, because Korea is still very quite, capitalist in its viewpoint, China wanted to create their own bands while spreading, communism, the message of being together, and showing their idols doing things that they believe helps the community, as a way of showing these are the people that you should be idolizing, not the Korean pop stars. So it doesn't really surprise me that there was this whole XOM, EXO link between the two, because hey, when it comes to it, they want to make money, right? So if there was that kind of attitude in China, then I wouldn't be that surprised, because China can definitely be very conservative in terms of its viewpoints to do with relationships. I had a very lot of interesting comments and observations, I'll say, when I was there, being as freaking gay as I am. Okay. I can't really comment about Korean standards because, yeah, I don't really understand South Korea. Well, not that I don't understand it, but I'm not familiar with it. So it could be the same, but either way, I think it is completely unacceptable to treat an idol that poorly for daring to be a human being. And if you did look at if you had a little research around what people were saying, like I did, there were far more that were supporting Chen. There were a lot more people that were like, hey, he's just a human being, what the hell, you can't get angry with him for, like, daring to be a human being. There were far more comments supporting Chen than against him, even with the old, Google Translate on. So this whole anti-Chen, how dare he be a human being kind of movement, this really shouldn't be an indicator as to what all EXO fans are like, because from what I've seen, that absolutely isn't the case. This is just a very small amount of, clingy super fans that, yeah, as I said, seem to be really upset that they no longer have romantic and sexual access to one of their idols that they never would have had to begin with. As for the Chen Out protest, that was legit the most pathetic thing I've seen in freaking ages. The fact that they all had, like, hoodies covering their face because they were, like, too freaking embarrassed to show that they were the people that were actually protesting a band member because he dared to have a girlfriend. And also that, like, that donation in Chen's name to the youth sex center, that was really low. That was, like, a really nasty way of trying to shame him. Now, the thing is that I wish that, like, they had accepted the donation, because that would have gone, that would have done so much good. Because they seem to be all about, hey, we're not for shaming people that get pregnant before marriage, we're here to promote safe sex, condom use, which can only be a good thing. So even if it was supposed to be like a snarky move, it would have been nice if they had got the money, because otherwise it's just going back to these hateful losers who really don't deserve it. I mean, come on. Also, the billboards. Who has that money? Who has money to get, like, a freaking truck billboard just to post, pop it outside of this thing and be like, I don't want this boy band member anymore because he put his willy inside somebody that wasn't me. Like, just why? Why would you waste so much time and resources to make that crappy protest, like, over that? Why would you wait? There's so many better things that it could be used on. Another thing that I actually just got reminded of with the whole protest thing is the fact that they said, oh, 200 to 300 people were going to attend, but only 7 did. You know what that reminds me of? Freaking Coney 2012, when they had that paint the night or something, and then they were gonna say, oh yeah, we're gonna make sure everybody knows about Joseph Coney, and then, after the guy went absolutely, had his breakdown, and people were like, hang on, this seems to be a bit virtue signally and, not really helping people. And then there were only 3 people that posted stickers in cities and then gave up. That's what this reminded me of. This whole Chen out is basically the K-pop version of Coney 2012. Another thing that really stood out to me about this were the people saying, never dedicate your life to a celebrity. Just take a moment to process that. Never dedicate your life to a celebrity. These are people who learned this via the fact that their celebrity idol who they wanted to, dance around in his sweaty knickers, and now they can't. That's what they've taken away from it. I just need to really make the point that you should never freaking dedicate your life to a celebrity in the first place. I mean, dedicating your life to somebody famous, that's just so unhealthy. Dedicating your life to anybody other than yourself is, yeah, really unhealthy to begin with. I mean, obviously it's different if it's, your whole family or whatever. But, a celebrity, dedicating your life to a celebrity, it's not healthy. And why did it take them being a human being for you to go, oh, how dare he? It makes no sense. He's a human being. He is allowed to fall in love and have children and do, things that human beings do. The fact that it's just something that they're not willing to drop as well. He kept coming forward. It's like, oh, happy 6th anniversary. Oh, check out this that you could buy. And he's standing there like, no, we don't like you, Chen. No, smelly Chen. It's not something he deserves at all. And that whole, why can't you just be a solo artist? Well, it seems that his solo stuff is doing really well, and he's doing really well in EXO, so what do you expect? Also, I'm not entirely sure what they're really that fussed about, because if you listen to the end of the little write-up, you would see that Chen turned 28 on the 21st of September, so this means that I am an entire 2 months and 4 days older than Chen, which means that, let's get us up side by side, this is what he's going to be looking like in 2 months. So, so the clock's ticking as it is, he's gonna get fat and hairy and just look terrible soon. Another thing that really made me laugh about this whole story as well is the fact that the anti-Chen people posted their their advert in the sports section. Can you imagine someone's dad, someone's dad just going through the sports section, seeing how his local team did, and just see this and be like, oh, Chen got married? What did they think was gonna come from that? Overall, I just have to say that I really enjoyed covering this. It really opened my eyes to, what some fandoms will put importance in. Or rather, what some of the really intense fans... Because, like I said and like OP said in the post, the majority of EXO fans are totally chill. Most of them support Chen, and it's only a very small amount. I think you get overly obsessive fans in every fandom. It just seems to be slightly more prominent, or at least more vocal, in the K-pop fandom. But even so, this is something that I was completely unaware of. I know that people go, crazy over BTS and, Hyunai, I think her name is. But I hadn't heard of EXO up until this point. So this was actually really quite interesting. I'm sure that in terms of the test of time that Chen is going to do really well. He's got a beautiful voice, most people do support him, and he's got his own, he does have his solo stuff going on that's doing really well. So I'm sure Chen's going to be fine, and he's got his wife and his kids, so 100% good for him. I hope that he's really happy with them in the future. And I hope that the exo-l Chen out fans, find another much healthier obsession soon, because this is doing them no good. Also, side note that I just thought of after I finished my initial commentary, I don't know about you folks, but when I saw the phrase Kim Jong Daddy, I didn't think that it was going to be shaming somebody for having a kid. I thought that it was like, you know, Daddy Kim Jong-un, but obviously not, because it's K-pop, so I don't, I actually, when I was trying to find the story again, and I googled Kim Jong Daddy, I ended up getting Kim Jong-il pop-up, so, that was my, that was my first impression. If you enjoy watching my content, then please consider throwing me a few pennies down at my Ko-fi down below. If you would like to just buy me a coffee, you can throw me as little as £3 down below. If not, thanks for just enjoying my content, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Well, that's it for this episode of Hobby Drama, or more specifically, K-pop drama. I'm thinking of making it its own subset, because there's so much drama in the K-pop fandom, I'm sure you're unsurprised to hear. I had quite a lot of fun covering this, so do let me know if you enjoyed this format and if you would like to see more kind of drama videos like this. And I guess I hope that you had as much fun watching or listening to this as I did making it. Feel free to send me an email or drop a comment if there's any other kind of small-time hobby or fandom drama that you would like me to cover. Or if you like watching my other videos, then please let me know what subreddits you would like me to cover, or if you'd like to see any more that I've already covered. And until then, I'll see you all next time.